Oh man. Alrighty. Clash of Cultures back. I don't know what episode this is. I think it's 23, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh shit! I didn't know we live already.
Yeah, I just pressed it. So
Man, you ain't give me
um
no heads up or nothing.
no, so we're live. Live to talk about all the bowl matchups, kind of recap the conference championship games. Wait for a few people to get in here. I'm not
Yeah.
very happy. I'm not very happy at all with how everything transpired. Um, Playoff wise, bowl matchup wise, just not really a fan of how they did everything this year. And obviously, my team had nothing to do with it. I mean, my team is not in the playoff race. We're not even in the New Year's Six race. So it's not like it's because I'm biased towards my team. I just think it's kind of a weird way to end the 14 playoffs, and I'm not a fan of it. But we'll get more into it as more people get in here. But what did you think about? Actually, yeah, we'll just start with this. I want more people to come in before I make this announcement. What did you think about the Alabama Georgia game?
What announcement? First of all,
You'll see in a second. But what do you think about the Alabama Georgia game?
man, it was a good game. And I know, I hate to get into calls. There were calls that could have went either way. Obviously, Alabama was able to pull it off. That Alabama team that you remember from the beginning, I said I thought this was going to be a down year. And early in the season, I think, they were on that trajectory. Obviously, early loss to Texas, looked really bad against UCF. But Milroe really started to come into his own. I think they realized his strengths and started to work the offense towards his strengths. And this is a team that, as the season went on, just got better. On the other side of that, I think Georgia just never looked impressive. I think we felt good about them because of Tennessee, but Tennessee was down. I think we felt good about them because of the Ole Miss game, but Ole Miss was down this year. So it was just a good game against two good teams. And yeah, at the end of the day, Alabama was able to pull it off.
Guinea Pig said Georgia needs to fire their offensive coordinator who was awful this game. I'm not going to say that because they were 12-0 heading into this game. So I'm not going
Yeah.
to say they should fire the offensive coordinator. You lost to a top four team. It happens. You're not going to win every single game. Luckily, I mean, for them, they were on a 29-game win streak. But I think as fans of teams who have been successful, I mean, I would say even Notre Dame is in that conversation because you guys have been to the playoffs a few times. We've gotten to the point where we're kind of not selfish, but greedy to the point where, like, when
Yeah.
you lose a game, it's like
Yeah. I
everything needs
mean,
to like throw everything in the fire. That's not the case. I mean, they lost the
and the
game.
same thing happens with Ohio State, right? The Ryan Day talk and get rid of Kyle McCord, and I think we over sensationalize a result, especially a 1 game result.
Hey, keep
Georgia.
talking 1 second. I gotta let the dog out the room 1 second. Keep talking though. Just keep talking.
Okay, Georgia is who they are. They are at the end of the day now a blue blood team that I think we are going to be talking about every season. For a long time in terms of college football. They are a very good team. They're going to be back next year. They're going to be in the hunt. Alabama got them. You could play this game 10 times, and, I think it goes 6-4, probably Georgia, if you played it 10 times. This just happened to be a time that Alabama got them. It is what
Yeah.
it is. That's one of the ones you two very evenly matched teams. Alabama is a good team. Nick Saban is a heck of a coach. They have talent there. It's one of those games. It's a toss-up. It could have went either way. This time it just went in Alabama's favor.
So you think that they should get rid of him and get someone else? The only problem with like one of these, like some of these big schools, though, as well, is when you do so good, your offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators are going to take jobs elsewhere.
Now that's the
So
thing. They may
yeah, that's the
leave.
other that's the other problem with it. Obviously, we see that happen with Alabama. Um, Luckily, Clemson didn't have to deal with that for a while with Venables. But I mean, now it's going to be that way. Bama just doesn't lose SEC championships.
Yeah, I
They
think part
are
of that
very
is
good in that
just the
stage.
mystique of Nick Saban. I think he understands how to navigate those games, those high pressure moments better than anybody else doing this. This is why he's probably going to go down as the greatest college football coach of all time. Nobody can take anything from him. I don't think anybody goes into a Nick Saban coached game believing that that his team doesn't have a chance. He's a hell of a coach. He understands these situations better than anybody because he's been in more of these situations than anybody. Kudos to the GOAT, man. At the end of the day, that's what it is. Kudos to the GOAT. Kirby Smart is a heck of a coach. And one day I think we're going to be talking about him in kind of that same conversation. But, remember where Kirby Smart took Georgia from. Georgia had not won a championship in 40 years. And they've won in the last 3-4 years. They've been in that they've been in the championship conversation. Obviously, with back-to-back. Now, they won't be able to pull it off this year, but you don't get mad at a season where you lose in the SEC championship by 3 points. Nothing to hang your head about.
So, we got a few people in here now. So, I do want to make an announcement. The college football pick'em is complete. We do have a winner.
Man, I missed the week, too.
So, now we have a winner who won by one game. He went 89-51.
Okay.
Scraw 28. I hope you're still here. We've been doing this pick'em for 3 months now. So
he's been picking every week. So,
but I mean, he may not be watching the videos live. So hopefully he's still here. Second place was Bama. He lost by one game, 88-52. So,
Jack Harlow, I see you, boy.
And then Cat 9 lives, 85-45. So a few games out. So that's our top three. So right now, like I said, we are waiting to see if Scraw 28 is here. We'll give him probably 2 weeks or so to say something as we continue to post. So hopefully he says something. If not, then we'll be moving on to the next participant, who's Bama.
Well,
so
Bama gonna say something.
So I'm hoping Scraw says something, so I don't got to buy Brandon a jersey, because I know it's going to be an Alabama jersey. So Scraw, congratulations for winning our first annual college football pick'em. Look forward to doing that. Yeah, Bryce, I'm not going to lie. You missed a crazy time in Clemson because we didn't link up with you, but it was funny. He was calling him Jack the entire 72 hours we were there.
That's that man's name. He answers to it and everything.
But yes, I mean, let's get right into, talking about obviously the bowl games. Let's just go ahead and talk about the 14 playoff first. Like, obviously, he said, and you look like Quentin Nelson, buddy. Oh, he's talking about Bryce.
I was like, damn.
But when we look at, obviously, we have Michigan against Alabama and then Texas versus Washington. Me and you had a conversation off camera, obviously, on the phone. I am not a fan at all. I know me and Brandon, or me and Bama have talked about it as well, me and Bryce as well. I just do not like the idea that for the last 10 years, we've used the same criteria and the same precedents to choose the four. And I think it's just ironic, and I don't think it's a coincidence that so every year up until this point, it's always been the most deserving. Now, people can say what they want. Well, I will say this. The committee has put in the most deserving team. And I don't think it's a coincidence that the first time in 10 years of the Final Four, or the final, 4 teams, that the SEC doesn't have a most deserving team. So then we say, but they're better than Florida State because they don't have the quarterback, which I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. I think if Alabama and Florida State played tomorrow, I would favor Alabama by 17 points. But at the end of the day, I would have favored, whoever Cincinnati took over in that year. I would have favored them over Cincinnati. But we took Cincinnati because they're deserving. So I think when you take 10 years of a consistent way of doing things, and then you switch it all of a sudden to fit a narrative of we need an SEC team in the playoffs, I feel like it's bogus. And I don't agree with it.
Yeah, the hard part is Florida State deserves. When we get into the best team that's objective. Florida State, a undefeated conference champion, Power 5 conference champion, deserves to have the ability to prove on the field whether or not they can win the championship. They deserve that opportunity. Do I believe that without Jordan Travis, that you could probably, because if the whole poll was the best looking team, then Tulane shouldn't be on there. Florida State should be like 15. Like we can really So that's obviously not what it's about. I think this is a ratings thing. I think this is because again, Florida State without Jordan Travis, that's not a draw. Um, I think it's a travesty to the rest of the guys on that team that they don't get the opportunity to prove that they are the champions or not the champion on the field, right? That still should, we can't assume, we can't project, we can't predict. They were 13-0. Alabama was not. Alabama lost the game. The game they lost was fair and square. Let's also remember, and I got to bring this up, Alabama almost lost to Auburn and should have lost to Auburn. Again, they didn't lose, but let's not act like Florida State, who lost Jordan Travis, hasn't been playing without him for what, 3 games? And they won all of those games. 2 games, I'm sorry, against Florida and against Louisville. They won all
top
of
15. Top 15 team.
They won both of those games dang near by double digits. Obviously, they beat Louisville by double digits, and they beat Florida by 9. They deserve the opportunity to prove or disprove their ability to win the championship on the field. Again, just like Steven said, do I believe that they would beat Alabama if they lined up today? No. Is it impossible that they beat Alabama? Is it impossible that they beat Michigan and beat Texas and win the national championship? No. Do we not watch that Florida State defense yesterday? That defense was ridiculous. That's one of the best defensive performances I've seen all season. So is it impossible that Florida State would have won? No. Would I have projected them to win? No. Did they deserve the opportunity as an undefeated Power 5 champion to prove that on the field? Absolutely. And that's why this is a travesty.
Yeah, I mean, it is bias at the end of the day. So Bama said, I believe if Alabama would have lost to Texas, would have, maybe he's saying wouldn't have lost, would have got in, but I'm hearing it's just in my favor this week versus Alabama fan.
Yeah, but let me say this. If Alabama was undefeated, was an undefeated SEC champion, and then Florida State was obviously a ACC undefeated champion, then to me you're comparing apples to apples. Then you can go into things like, well, which team do I think would fare better, right? I think then you can say, hey, everything here is the same. Which team do I think would fare better? But we're not comparing apples to apples. One team was undefeated. One team was not.
So I'm talking about Texas. So I mean, I think if Alabama lost yesterday, I think what I agree with for sure is what Guinea Pig said. And let me pull it up. So he said it doesn't make sense. Give me 1 second. Let me find it because there was a couple. So he says, yeah, and it makes even less sense when you put Georgia below Florida State.
Agreed.
How is Florida State better than Georgia but not Alabama? And so that makes a valid point. And that's how I feel like that's how it showed that they just wanted to put an SEC team in. It's because there's no way you can tell me that the committee thinks Florida State is worse than Alabama but better than Georgia because Alabama won by, 3 points yesterday? So where do you draw the line?
And that's why I said if it was who I think is the best team, throwing records out based on where they are right now, then really Florida State should probably be at 12.
Yeah.
Right. I think right now today, Oregon would beat them. Probably Ohio State would beat them. Georgia would beat them without Jordan Travis, just off eye test. So at the end of the day, you took into account the fact that they were undefeated conference champion when you compared them to Georgia and the other teams next, but you didn't take that into account when you compared them to Alabama. That to me is what led me to believe that this is an SEC bias, because if that was the case, like you said, like Guinea Pig said, Florida State should have been below Georgia and probably some other teams as well.
Yeah, I mean, at minimum, they should have been below at least Georgia, because then it would have made a little bit more sense, because you're comparing them to teams that played in a conference championship game. I wouldn't be mad if they had Oregon below them because they lost twice, but I would have expected Georgia to be higher than them as well.
And I'm only saying that in terms of if the only criteria is what team do I think is better, because that is the only criteria in which you could say I'm putting Alabama in over Florida State, is I think they are better today. If that is the criteria, if that's priority number one, then I could say that about probably 10 teams.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I just think it's stupid though, because again, like as you guys can see behind me, I'm a Clemson fan. I hate Florida State. Like I am like I have mixed emotions because like I'm happy they can't win it all because then like I don't have to hear anything from anybody. I don't hear anything from Kelly or Christian. Like I don't have to hear anything. But at the same time, it's like, what was the point of Florida State playing football this year? Why did they play?
Well, and that's why I think it's almost worse because imagine if Florida State does beat Georgia in the Orange Bowl. Now our question is, man, what could have happened? We never know. Right now, I think you're going to hear from Christian and Kelly even worse, saying we were robbed out of a championship.
If they beat Georgia, like I said, I told Bryson Bama this earlier. If they beat Georgia, I would not have any issue with a Florida State fan telling me that they are the actual champions. I wouldn't be mad. And someone, I think Bryce told me earlier that it's the same thing as the UCF, but it's not because UCF beat a team that won the championship. In this case, Florida State is undefeated. They got snubbed and beat the team that is a back-to-back champion, who everyone considered to be the best team all season long, on a 29-game win streak, obviously. So I think with them, if they beat Georgia, I think even if they lose by a touchdown, it's like they should have got it. Because I think losing to Georgia by a touchdown, you could have still competed at the highest level because that is the highest level. So I think the committee is hoping that they lose by 21 or something. So that way people can say, like, this is why we didn't put them in. But I think if it's competitive, you have to look at it like, yeah, they screwed up. And it all boils back down to the fact that for the last 10 years, they went with the most deserving team, or Cincinnati wouldn't have got in. Notre Dame probably wouldn't have got in one of those years. It's the fact that you could always have put in Georgia or Alabama if that's the case.
Now I'm going to ask you a question. Do you think they were willing to buck the tradition or what has been kind of the norm in terms of this year specifically, knowing that this is the last year of 4 teams and next year they're going to 12? So that obviously this no longer, like, we can't continue to hold this against the selection committee. We can't say now this is the norm because next year.
Well, wait. I'm pretty sure there's still a selection committee. Because
there is. But I'm saying it becomes, this won't be an issue anymore because all conference champions will automatically get in. So do you think that's why they were maybe a little bit more willing to do something that they had never done before because they know that they won't be held to this standard anymore past this season?
Maybe, but I also think they let a lot of outside noise get in too. Like, because we all knew that Florida State is not a top 6 team. Like, we all knew that. Like,
well, I would say, and I want to caveat this and say without Jordan Travis.
Without Jordan Travis, yes. Without Jordan Travis, we all knew that, like, they would be underdogs. I mean, I think early ones came out. If they played Georgia, they were a 15-point underdog. If they played Michigan, they were 15, whatever. So, like, everyone knows that. But at the end of the day, we've had playoff situations before where we know a team should not be there, and they get there because they deserve to be there. So, when I don't like this either, when as soon as games are done, like in the conference championship, like I get, like, it's almost like a damn, like a debate show, like for the coaches, like they go, like Kirby Smart, as soon as they lose, he hurry up and goes to the media and says exactly why, or gives his reason, give his pitch on why he should get in. Yeah. Like, and to me, it's
they
like
start campaigning.
It's stupid. Like, and it kind of makes me wish we go back to the BCS where it's like based off of points. I feel like we need to do something. And I like the 12 team, because it's like, if you win your conference, you're in. There's no maybe not, because of reasons like this. Yeah, because reasons like this where it doesn't matter. Like, I understand that Nick Saban knows football. I understand Kirby Smart knows football. But it honestly feels like the committee has been brainwashed by these media members and coaches saying they're not a good team. They're not a good team.
Well, and when we say Nick Saban and Kirby Smart know football, we also have to understand that everything they're saying is coming with a bias, right? Nick Saban has never got on TV and said, I don't think Alabama should be in this year.
Well, I mean media as well, though, because you have media members. Like, for example, this morning when they did the reveal, Booger McFarland was the only one, like, they deserve to be there. And everybody else was like, we know they're not as good. It's
Well,
like
okay, because you got what Greg McElroy.
Joey Galloway, and it was Reese Davis.
So obviously McElroy is an Alabama alum. So of course he wanted Alabama to get in. I'm a little bit surprised at Joey Galloway because this is the weird part about this year and this situation is that at the end of the day, I think we all would agree. I think college football fans across the globe would agree that Alabama stands a better chance of beating Michigan at their current state than Florida State.
Yes.
Right. But my concern or my problem, and I understand that's the argument that everybody's going to go to. But my argument counter to that is that is not just like you said. I think everybody would have said TCU was not a top 4 team last year. I think everybody would have said Notre Dame wasn't a top 4 team the year they made it. Cincinnati wasn't a top 4 team the year they made it. So why all of a sudden was there the systemic switch to what we have said priorities were, right? From the beginning of time, in terms of this college football playoff, we've said we've prioritized record, conference championships, head-to-head, common opponents. When did I don't think they would beat them. When did that become a thing? Because again, like you mentioned, I think we would have said that now, yes, TCU beat Michigan. I don't think anybody suspected that they were going to beat Michigan. And obviously we saw that when they played Georgia. Cincinnati lost. Notre Dame lost. But it wasn't about, we think somebody else would play them closer. All of a sudden, this year, for the very first time, it became, I think Alabama would play them closer than Florida State. Not all of those things that we've been told since the beginning of this playoff system would be the priorities.
Oh, wait. So Bama said if Alabama would have lost last night and they put Texas over FSU at 4, Texas is already over Florida State. So it doesn't matter. Texas is already in. Texas wasn't the decision between Florida State and them getting in. It was Alabama. Texas was already in. So I think you're saying if Georgia would have won. I see what you're saying. So because Georgia would have never moved. So
you're saying
if Texas would have jumped, I think it would have been the same thing though. Yeah, we would have been saying the same thing about Texas because Texas lost again.
Yeah, and because then Georgia would have been in if Texas jumps Florida State. Yeah, we're same conversation, just a different target.
Yeah, and I mean I think at the end of the day, the SEC still would have a team, so there really wouldn't be a conversation of SEC biased. It would be more of a conference championship bias because then you're looking at an undefeated conference championship.
But I'm going to be honest. I believe that if it did turn out that way, if Georgia did beat Alabama and Georgia was squarely in, Texas wouldn't have jumped Florida State. I believe that. Obviously, we don't know. But I think the only way that a team was going to jump Florida State was if it was an SEC team. Because I believe the backlash that the committee didn't want to hear is you don't have an SEC team yet.
Yeah, and you couldn't put an SEC, you couldn't put Alabama in and not Texas.
Yeah. So. Well, at that point, Alabama would have had 2 losses, so they would have been out of the conversation.
Oh, true. That's good.
But yeah, I think if Georgia wins, beats Alabama, so obviously clearly you have an SEC team in, I think Texas does. I don't think Texas would have jumped Florida State. Now, obviously, they did in this, like you said, obviously they have to in this scenario because, like you said, you can't have Alabama in. In fact, so that's literally the moment. Because I was watching the reveal, the moment that they showed Texas at 3, I was like, Florida State's not getting in. When they show, because I knew that whatever they did, Texas has to be over Alabama. That's the one thing that I knew had to happen. So you had to have them both jump Florida State for it to even somewhat make sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and again, I'm not a Florida State fan. I would personally rather see Michigan versus Alabama. So let me make that clear. I think that is going to be a far better matchup. I think it's a way more entertaining game, but at the same time, I don't agree with it. I don't agree with the fact that Florida State doesn't get in, but again, I'm happy because Florida State can't win it all. And I think Michigan-Alabama is going to be a better matchup. So it's going to be more entertaining to watch.
And that's not the precedent that's been set. And that's my qualm. If it was this every year, if every year it was hey, forget the records. As long as you were close, we're putting in the 4 teams that we believe are going to make the best games. Then cool. Then I'm not mad because I want to continue to say that I think Alabama versus Michigan is a better game than Michigan versus Florida State without Jordan Travis. I absolutely believe that. I believe Alabama beats Florida State right now if they took the field today. But the precedent had been that your body of work mattered, that being undefeated mattered, that winning your conference championship, again, no Power 5 undefeated conference champion had ever been left out of the college football playoffs. Never. It's never happened.
Yeah. Bama said, I told Steven the criteria should be the 4 best. But so I agree. But the problem is, and again, you're never going to admit this, which I understand. But if the shoe was on the other foot, Bama, that's all I'm saying. If the shoe was on the other foot, you wouldn't be saying like this is how it should be.
And let's
like that's if it benefited me, I'd be like, okay, like we're the 4 best teams, so like I understand it.
And this is and again, just speaking in truth. If
yes, they are, Nico. They are changing it next year. 12 teams.
The shoe was on the other foot. If Alabama had gone undefeated, Florida State had lost 1 game, and then Jalen Milroe got hurt at the end of the season, the conversation would be different. We would be saying, "Oh, Alabama deserves to get in because they're undefeated conference champion."
Yeah,
like you have to feel for Florida State fans, that team, like. How shitty is it to as a guy on a team to say this team was really one guy? Like that defense played lights out. Literally.
Yeah, and I also think people are kind of dumbing down. Now, like I said, I do think Alabama's better. And I think, honestly, Alabama's better than them even if they had Jordan Travis, me personally. I just think they are.
Oh, yeah,
but
I know you.
Obviously, without Jordan Travis, Alabama wouldn't survive the last 3 games without Milroe Jacks. Come on. Why wouldn't they? Who did they? I mean, obviously, maybe Georgia.
Well, so first of all, this was a hypothetical.
Yeah,
I'm just saying if the two were
switched,
similar or switched, yeah.
Yeah. So, I maybe lose my train of thought. Oh, so the last 2 games. So obviously, if you are back up against Florida, Florida is not Chattanooga. So Florida has 5 and 4 stars on their team. So just the mere fact you win that game by 10 or 11 is impressive to me. 9 is impressive to me. The fact you win that game on the road, guy makes his first start in college football, backup, you win the game. Okay, cool, whatever. Then you win with your 3rd string true freshman quarterback in an ACC title game against a top 15 team. Let me remind you that it's 10-2 who has wins against Duke 23-0 and they beat Notre Dame. You can't tell me that's not a convincing win, even though they only won by 10. It's still a good win, and I still think they should have stayed in, being that they won those games. And even if you just look at their resume, Florida State has one of the best resumes in all of college football. I mean, I get they don't have they have 4. I think they have 4, 3 or 4.
I think it was 4. The only problem is because the ACC is a bunch of very good teams, but there's no other great win, right? LSU obviously didn't have the year that we thought they would have. But it's not like they scheduled cupcakes. Their out of conference was Florida, LSU, I don't know who else, but 2 SEC teams. They beat 2 SEC teams. So it's not like they scheduled cupcakes. It's not like the ACC is some horrible conference. They got a bunch of very good teams, and Florida State survived that. Really, head to head, toe for toe, I think, and I think the ACC is deeper than the SEC. I'm not going to say better. I think the SEC has better top tier teams, but I think the ACC is deeper.
I'm looking up. I want to look up the final rankings in 2021.
Look, Bryce just said ACC had the most bowl eligible teams. Yeah, it's a deep. And what I mean by that is there are more teams to meet in the ACC that if they beat Florida State, we wouldn't be like up in arms, right?
So not only do they have the most bowl eligible teams, the ACC had a winning record against the SEC this year too. Yeah. So you can't even say like they beat them. But I'm looking up the 2021 college football playoff rankings after the conference championship game. So Alabama was number 1. This is just to compare. Alabama was number 1. Michigan was number 2. 2021. This is the year Cincinnati got in.
Okay.
So Alabama, Michigan, and Georgia all were 12-1. And those are the top 3. Number 4 was Cincinnati at 13-0. So they let them in. Notre Dame was an 11-1 team. So that you chose Cincinnati over an 11-1 Notre Dame. That doesn't make sense to me. If you're talking about the best teams, and Ohio State was 10-2. No one was picking Cincinnati to beat anybody in the top 10.
Cincinnati has never beat Ohio State in the history of that school. So
I just think that's why it's like it doesn't make sense that we're changing the narrative now. We're changing the criteria and we're moving the goalposts. That's literally what we did. We moved the goalposts today to fit kind of a money scenario and to not piss off, I would say, the bulk of college football fans, because most fans of college football go for the SEC.
The most fanatics. I think there are college football fans everywhere. I think the people that take this to heart the most, because SEC, which is what I think that's why I say I think this only happens because Alabama beat Georgia. I think if Georgia beat Alabama, Florida State's in. I don't think Texas jumps Florida State if SEC has a team in. I think it was, we can't have a playoff without an SEC team, because literally, so you guys seen, I made a post, well, not you guys, Steven, you're probably the only person on Facebook, but I made a post with my prediction yesterday. What I heard,
we had the same exact prediction, by the way.
What I heard wasn't this overarching argument of Alabama. It was no way the playoff committee, no way they have a playoff without an SEC team in. Exactly. Literally over and over. That was the conversation. No way that they have a playoff without an SEC team in.
Okay, wait. Before you continue, Bama says, is Texas not better than FSU without Travis? Yes, they are.
We said that.
But so is Georgia. So why is Georgia not higher than them? That's the whole, like, what Guinea Pig said.
We're saying
it's inconsistency, because if we're saying Alabama and Texas rightfully jumped Florida State, that's what you're saying, because they're better than them. Do you think Florida State is better than Georgia? Because in the rankings, Florida State is higher than Georgia and Oregon. I don't think they're better than either of those teams. But if you're going to move Texas and Alabama higher, why is Georgia not higher? That's why it doesn't make any sense.
Why is Florida State not 10? Because I think you could legitimately go about another 3 or 4 teams.
Four teams, at least 4 teams at minimum.
And say, hey, without Jordan Travis, those teams will probably beat Florida State.
Yeah, but well, I think this whole thing is the committee's fault, but that's the point, is you have to have consistency.
This is the committee's fault.
You have to have consistency, though, because it's not about just stopping at at the 2, because at the end of the day, it factors in the rest of the bowl games. Because Florida State, go ahead.
You ever tell you my biggest fear is Alabama wins it all, and then every Alabama fan says, look, see, but I think at the end of the day, it's still the principle. It's not the result, it's the principle. If Alabama wins it all, cool. And I think we'd all rightfully crown them the champion, because they didn't do anything wrong. They didn't put their self in, but it's the principle. And the principle is that Alabama should not be in over Florida State. Doesn't mean that Alabama doesn't have an opportunity to win it. Doesn't mean that Alabama won't. Now, I'm not personally picking them. I think you are, right? You think.
So I do think Alabama's going to win it all. Obviously, I've been riding with Michigan the entire year. I said that from the jump. But I think Alabama's the hottest team. That's why I'm like I understand them being in, but it's based on the last 10 years. It's like you can't just completely switch. Like if that's I wouldn't be mad if it's always been like this. If it's always been like you do it. Like if they're better than that team, you get in. But it's the fact then, why didn't we do that with Cincinnati? Why didn't we do that with Notre Dame? To be honest, why didn't we do that with Washington when they had John Ross? Like, there's a lot of times where it shouldn't have happened, but it did. So that's my only gripe with it, is the fact that this is the first time, and coincidentally, the SEC doesn't have a most deserving team.
The SEC is the beneficiary. So let's get into the games.
So other than the playoff games, so we do have 12 people in here. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. If you haven't already, please like the stream, send it to someone. We want to kind of continue this. Obviously, after bowl season is done, we're going to be recapping every single game, every single team that we previewed. So it's going to be kind of fun seeing where we went wrong, stuff like that. But before we get into these games, actually, I want to give you a scenario. This is kind of off topic.
Okay.
So, Dad, if I texted you, right, And I said, so Guinea Pig said next year can't fix FSU getting stuff this year. I agree.
Agree.
Pancake said I'm boycotting the playoffs. I'm still gonna watch, but I'm not gonna boycott.
Yeah,
I do.
But I respect that, Pancake. Let me tell you real fast. Hold on.
Wait,
and I know there's money involved. But if I was the ACC, I would tell all my teams, you're not playing. Hey, in a form of solidarity, no ACC team plays in a bowl game this year. I know they won't do it because there's money, but I would tell them, hey, we should all not play in a bowl game this
year. Yeah. So just to give you this is like I said, completely off the radar.
Okay.
Here. But if I texted you or I commented on like your Facebook post, obviously me and you are different because we talk every day. But if like one of your homies or one of your friends comments on your post about Ohio State and they say, I'll give you $250 if Ohio State makes the playoffs this year. If not, you got to give me $250. And you don't respond. And at the end of the year, Ohio State makes it. Are you going to comment and say, where's my $250? We had a deal. If you never responded.
No, because I never took the deal. I never took the bet.
Tell me why, bro.
What is it?
So in the Arizona preview we did, nobody expected Arizona to be this good. Right, so I shit on Arizona early. I said, you guys are not going to be 10-2 or 9-3, whatever they were. You actually were higher on them. You said, no, I think they'll be 8-4, 9-3 in the video, I think. I was like, I commented against the dude and was like, y'all, they're not going to be 8-4, 9-3. Like, I'm sorry to let you know that.
So I was right. That's another
so I told him in the comments, if they go 8-4 or 9-3 or 8-4, whatever, I was like, I'll buy you a jersey of your choice. If not, you have to, I think I either said buy our merch when it comes out or donate to the channel. I said something like that. Donate $20 to the channel. So he didn't respond. And then like 30 minutes later, I commented again. I said, do we have a deal with the handshake emoji with a question mark? He didn't respond again. And then Arizona finishes the season. He comments, and you know what he says to me? Time to pay up your debt. I'm like, bro, if you don't get out my damn messages. And then I was like, you never agreed to the deal. So then he comments and says, so this channel is really going to be doing bad business like that. We had a deal. And I'm like, bro, you never responded. Like, that's not bad. You can't be offered something and you say no.
Because
in 3 months, if they wouldn't have made it, and I would have hit you up,
then you would have said, "I never agreed to that."
Like, what are we doing right now? No, and then so he was like, karma is real. He was like hit me with some philosophical stuff.
I'd be honest, there's no way I'm paying up then. So I'm gonna give you a perfect example. I'm gonna give you a perfect example because it's funny. A very similar situation happened to me today. Yesterday, I told my best friend, guy I talk to all the time, Sean Simpson. I said, I will bet.
Government is crazy. Government is crazy.
well, don't look him up. But I told him, I bet my paycheck against his that Florida State gets in over Alabama.
Bro, Nico, I don't owe you anything. Shut up, bro.
I bet my paycheck against his. He never took the bet. Okay. Again, now, obviously, we joke around. He says the same thing. He calls me today after the announcement, say, I want your next paycheck. Wait a minute. You never said yes. You never said, cool, let's make that bet. So there was no bet in place. So, we laughed about it, but I'm like, yeah, the opportunity was there. You didn't say, cool, bet, do it, run it. It is what it is. But let's look at these games.
Did we bet on the Clemson LSU game?
That is $20 from 2019.
He's probably talking about the Clemson LSU game. I paid you $20 with a roof over your head when you stayed here, so that's enough.
Man, that don't get. You can't. If you owe that man $20, you can't say this.
I don't owe him $20.
This would be like if we bet $500 and I'm like, but I took care of you your whole life. So no, in fact, bet. I like that. Hey, don't worry about that jersey for the Colorado shit.
Matter of fact, you do. Matter of fact, I don't owe him $20. But matter of fact, you do owe me a jersey. Hey, everybody, what jersey should I get?
You're not getting a jersey because I took care of you your whole life.
You're right. I'm not getting a jersey. Hey, we not gonna hit 1,000 subscribers anyway, so I'll just keep that one in the closet.
You put a roof over his head for one day. I'll put a roof over your head for most of your life. I'm good. I want all the bets then.
It's I got me a jersey sitting there, still nice vacuum sealed in there waiting. Y'all not gonna get us to 1K. It might be up here next episode, to be honest. That jersey's mine, man. I've had it for what, 6 months already. I mean, it is what it
It
is. But
has been a minute, huh?
but before we get out of here, like I said, let's talk a little bit about these bowl games. Obviously, the bowl games don't start for another 2 weeks or so, so we're probably
Now
gonna.
wait a minute. I know we talked about this, but outside of the playoffs, what bowl game are you really like excited about? What one are you like? I got to make sure I watch that one. If you guys
So
didn't see,
I
if
have
you guys
three.
haven't seen, I know we're the playoffs have obviously been the load of the conversation, but bowl matching has basically come out already. So, what three?
So I am very excited for the Arizona Oklahoma game.
Yes, that's probably one on my list.
I'm very excited for that one. I'm excited for the Georgia Florida State game because I kind of want Florida State to win, and I'm not I hate Florida State, but I just wanted to win just to kind of like see what would happen.
Mm-hmm.
So those two, and my last one is outside of the playoffs.
Yeah, outside the playoffs. That Penn State?
Probably the Penn State game. And I will say this, as a Clemson fan, I'm very disappointed with the Kentucky matchup. Like I'm going to watch.
Well, that
I'm a
was my
Clemson
next
fan.
question. What three matchups are you most disappointed with?
Clemson, Kentucky. So that's my most disappointed one. I wanted LSU bad. The other two, I'm disappointed in LSU, Wisconsin. I don't think that game
that's a bad matchup. Like not even just that stylistically, that's not a game I'd want to watch.
And well, I won't say Clemson, Kentucky because I'm a Clemson fan. I'm going to say Wisconsin, LSU. Really, every game, every New Year's Six game, or every game on New Year's Day outside the playoff. I don't want to watch Wisconsin, LSU. I don't want to watch Liberty, Oregon, and I don't want to watch Iowa, Tennessee. All three of those games.
So the ugliest one to me is Liberty, Oregon. Like that is like, come on, why? Like,
but
like
I would have rather.
I'm not knocking Liberty. I know they're undefeated. I know they won their conference. There is no way they should be on the field with Oregon. And the problem is going to be they're going to play Oregon close because I think Bo Nix and a bunch of those guys aren't going to play. And then we're going to be talking about these teams, the next five, they deserve a shot just like we did last year with Tulane beating USC.
I would have loved to see Liberty versus Iowa. I think that game would have been
interesting. That would have been interesting.
And then Oregon, Tennessee. Like I feel like just switching the matchups
like that. Yeah.
would have made way more sense. Obviously, I know like certain bowl games have different tie-ins.
I think this is where, and I think we talked about this early in the year, we were talking about things we want to get rid of. This is where we got to get rid of tie-ins. And really, if you want to talk about this, right, then have the committee do the full job and make the best matchups for the other bowl games as well. Right? Like let's prioritize the bowl games and then have the committee make the best matchups. Things that we all want to see.
Because I mean, if you just look at the rankings, and I said this, I want to say, like before our channel blew up. So I don't think any of you guys were here. I mean, obviously Bama and Nico was here, Bryce, but before Guinea Pig and Pancake Rocks and everybody else kind of stumbled across our channel. Excuse me. I feel as though what they should have did this whole time is the top four make the playoffs, and then each team after that, so like 5, 6 play each other, 7, 8 play each other, 9, 10, all the way to 25, and we would have had the best matchups because it's what the committee deems to be the best teams in order playing each other. So I mean, I would have rather seen, instead of Liberty versus Oregon, I'd rather see Ohio State and Oregon. Like, why wouldn't I want to see that?
That would be a good game.
Missouri, Penn State, obviously, I think Missouri's playing Ohio State, but Missouri, Penn State, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, LSU, Arizona, Louisville, Notre Dame. Obviously, they would play each other. A rematch, I wouldn't care about. Iowa, NC State, and obviously you go down the list. But I think that's what should have happened. Sun Bowl is a must watch.
Liberty game would have actually been very interesting.
The Sun Bowl. Who's in the Sun Bowl? That one got announced. Notre Dame, Oregon State. I don't know if that game's a must watch just because Oregon State doesn't have their starting quarterback. I think they're using Aiden Childs or whatever. I think Notre Dame wins the game. I don't know if Sam Hartman's going to play, obviously. I don't think he's the type to sit out. But I would favor Notre Dame in that game.
I don't think because Sam Hartman is obviously going to the NFL at this point. I think and Notre Dame has nothing to play for. I think there's no way he plays. Especially remember what was his name? Jalen Smith. That injury happened at Notre Dame.
Yeah, in a bowl game, right?
Yeah, against Ohio State. And literally, a guy went from being a top 15 pick to like a third round pick.
Yeah, you guys lost both of your receivers. Going to be
Yeah.
interesting to see how Notre Dame looks next year.
Yeah, I
Obviously, you
don't think
guys.
I don't think Sam Hartman plays. This is the bad part about one. I think this is why expanding the playoffs was so important. But two, this is the bad part about bowl games, right? Let's Caleb Williams isn't going to play. Sam Hartman's probably not going to play. Bo Nix probably isn't going to play. Like we can name these teams, and a lot of the star. This is why like even picking bowl games is so hard because I think you can't do it until closer to the game until you know who's going to play and who's not.
Yeah. And we'll see. I'm hoping that all these games are good. There's a lot of them that I'm not looking forward to, obviously. But we'll just have to see. We're going to be doing previews of all of the major bowl games, probably all the ranked games for sure. Like I said, we still have. So the first meaningful games really start like the 27th, I believe.
Yeah.
So that gives us, 3 weeks worth of previews. So we're probably going to go ahead and preview all of the games that have ranked opponents, preview the College World Playoff. Bo Nix said he's playing. I did not know that.
I do know Ryan Day said he believes that all the Ohio State players are going to play, which is crazy. I am shocked. I don't believe that Mbuka, Travion, and Marvin Harrison are going to play, but Ryan Day said he believes all the Ohio State players are going to play.
Hopefully there's no injuries, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to not only recapping or previewing all the bowl games, but I really want to recap.
That's going to be fun.
Season. That's going to be very fun because that's obviously how we found so many of our subscribers is recapping or previewing every team. So to go back and kind of talk about the season, the videos are probably going to be a little bit lengthier as well because we actually have substance to kind of go over.
Yeah, we can break down what we said.
Yeah, and then talk about what actually happened and stuff. So that's going to be really fun. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So we appreciate you guys. 45-minute episode.
Wait a minute, real fast. Hey, Pancake Rock, on the left side of your screen, it's a button. It's called Caps Lock. Just press that button one time. Boop, and then it don't do that no more. Boop, press that Caps Lock, and then it don't have to be. You know what I'm saying? Just press it.
Bro, screaming every live show.
Yeah, boop, Caps Lock, and then you're good. You know what I'm saying, baby?
He got Caps Lock every live. That's his thing, man.
That man. Boop, one button, man. That's all it takes.
But we look forward to seeing you guys in the recaps, obviously the previews. I'm actually debating if I want to do a kind of like a live watching a game. Like if I want to,
if we're gonna do it, we should do it like a game that matters.
I wouldn't mind doing it for the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm down.
It just depends because I don't know what time the games are, and if I have to work, that might be an issue.
Yeah.
Actually, I can see the time of the game right now.
Because
the game, I could probably do the Texas-Washington game. New Year's Day, Monday, New Year's Day. I could probably do that one. If not, can always do the Georgia-Florida State game or something. So I'm sure I'll be off for one of these. So I wouldn't mind doing that. That would be fun. Army, Navy.
That'd be real dope. Is it legal to actually? Will we just have to watch it and not have it on the thing? Okay.
Just talk. Yeah, just talk. So we just be talking, and we actually can't have audio either. So that's the only thing that.
So we could put it up on our TV and just everybody else watch it on their TV, and then they could just hear us talk about it.
And we just be talking about it in the chat and stuff. So that would be cool. Okay, he did it. He took off that caps lock.
Look at that. I see you, boy. Look, you just gotta boom, you press that and look at it.
I can't do Army Navy. I work next Saturday, so I won't be able to do Army Navy. But
plus that's a
kind of a boring
game. Different game. Obviously, you guys know I'm in the Navy, so obviously I watch it. A little service pride, but I assume most people don't watch the Army Navy. Besides the fact that there's no other games on that day, I don't know how many people are watching triple option football.
Yeah, I agree. We do need to get 50 more. It's kind of crazy. So I think in the last month or month and a half, we were at like 947, then went up to 954, then back to 950, 952, back to 948. It's like, it's weird because like every 2 days we'll lose one and get one back like in an hour or two. So I don't know if it's somebody playing around. It's super weird to me. I don't know. But I know when we first started, I was really zoned in on it, but now it's I don't really look at the number anymore. Yeah. Just because it's
well, most important, really man, and we appreciate some of the loyal people who really been rocking with us.
Getty
Y'all
P.
been, yeah, y'all been showing up to all the lives and all that. So the fact that we have a nice little culture, man.
Yeah, definitely. So this week we're going to be putting out some of the probably later in the week. We'll be putting out some of the bowl projection or bowl previews. Let me just count real quick. So we have one,
Wait a minute, because when is the Heisman? That's this weekend, right? This upcoming next weekend.
Yeah, so we can do a video there too.
Because
So
we ain't even made our Heisman projection.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So I'm counting like the ranked games. So like the real meaningful games to talk about bowl season wise. There's 15 of them. Okay. So the first one starts on the 27th. So obviously we have a few days to kind of figure out what we want to do, preview all the games, and then as soon as the season ends, we're going to get right into doing the recaps. That's probably going to be a daily thing, how we did last time. That was really fun. And it was, I'm going to be honest, everybody that's still in here, it was very hard. Obviously, the last like couple of weeks, we've been inconsistent uploading, but it's very hard to upload when you don't know what to upload because you have to wait for things to happen. Yeah. And it's like you're battling like my schedule, your schedule, and college football to see like no one knew that, Florida State wasn't going to get in until now. So it's like we couldn't make that video and get ready to post. Obviously, with the previews, we could do 3 in one day, schedule it to post. And then for the recaps, we'll be able to do the same thing.
That made it easier in terms of, we got to get back consistent. Obviously, life, if you guys know, and I'm sure most of you know, obviously, Steven now as a child. So when we started this, especially through the summer, he didn't have that responsibility on his head, then work and all the other things that, we're people too. And life happens. Life gets a vote sometimes. So we haven't been as consistent as we should. But yeah, like you said, because it was so much easier because we just did a bunch of preview videos. We do a bunch.
There was a point we did like 9 previews in one day. So it's like I literally took a day, edited everything, and then scheduled them for 9 straight days. And during those 9 days, we were recording more. And it's like at that point, it's like you have a kind of a end goal of getting through every team. So now it's like we're going to be able to do that again, where it's going to be consistent, bam, 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 every day, because we don't have to, like, for example, even like now, we can't talk about what happened in the Alabama-Michigan game because it hasn't happened yet. So it's like we're trying to like scramble to figure out what we're going to do, and that's how it was every week because we had to wait for things to happen. We didn't know the transfer portal was going to be a big topic of discussion as well. Yes. Talking about that, the coaching carousel, recruiting. So I mean, it'll be fun. But that's going to do it for this live show. We're probably, like I said, going to post later this week, maybe Wednesday or Thursday. We'll start the bowl, the bowl previews, and then obviously the Heisman talks and stuff. So it's going to be pretty fun. But we appreciate you guys for stopping by. We're going to get consistent again. Please share this to a friend, a family member. Let's get to 1,000 subscribers so we can give away the signed Heisman jersey. But as always, thank you guys so much, and we will see you guys next time. Peace out, everybody.